you write really, really crappy code, PHP 7.2 and PHP 7.3 even more so is going to run it really, really fast. If you run decent code, you're not going to see as much of a speed up from PHP 7.3 and 7.2. But it's been sort of PHP's thing forever. PHP runs crappy code really, really well. It runs it fast and it works. And that's why PHP has become so popular, because you try something and it just works. And heck, it's even fast. Very few other languages can say that. It's not always great, but it really helps people get started with it. And it doesn't prevent people from writing better code in the future. It's just that they don't have this huge pressure to write better code, so you end up with some bad code. And that's where static analysis comes in, which was my next topic. So I wrote this static analysis tool called Phan. You can find it at github.com/Phan. Very easy to install via Composer, or you can install it directly just by cloning from GitHub. You can initialize the --init creates a .phan config.php, and you can run it vendor bin phan on your project. And it checks all kinds of things. If you have Phpdoc type annotations in there, it'll check they're correct, check that all methods are defined, anything you call and any constants, properties that you try to access in your code, it's all defined and at the right access level for you to call it. Checks type safety everywhere, version compatibility, checks for no-ops, unreachable code, unused statements, all kinds of things. You can also write plugins that extend the static analyzer to check for whatever you want. And there's a bunch of included plugins. And I'm going to demo a few of them. So here I have a bit of PHP code. And I'm actually showing the Vim integration because I'm a VI guy forever. If I were to change this constructor to say this returns an integer, and I save the file, it's complaining, wait a second, constructors can't declare a return type because it makes no sense. Nothing's going to catch this return value. So Phan can catch stuff like that. Oops. Oh, I messed up my undo. Other things, say you miss the bracket on the count. I mean, this is syntactically valid. Not what you meant to do, right? If I try to save that, it gives you all kinds of errors, saying, wait a second, non-bool is evaluated in an if, which is one of the user plugins I have enabled right now, but you also have this array to int comparison, where you're comparing an array to an integer, which is valid, but it's probably not what you meant to do. So here Phan can come in and really help out with silly things. It also lets you have array shapes in the sense that you can say this property R is an array with the key is always an integer and the value is always a string. And if at some point you decide to assign an integer into this array, you'll see, wait a second, you're assigning an integer, but property CARR is defined to be an array of int string type, right? So here it catches the fact that you're putting in a value that you said shouldn't be possible, because you said it should only be int with string values. It also does even more. If you mess up a regex, it actually can go and look at your regex and say, hey, this is not a valid regex. And this is before running your code, right? This is just a static analyzer going through, and also even printf strings and stuff. So here, we're passing a string to a printf, and it can figure out and say, wait a second, you're passing in a string, but you're using %d in your printf string, which actually means integer. So that's probably not going to do what you want it to do. And also one of the user plugins, you can do things like tell it, well, I'm not going to allow something like this. Oops. Personally, I love $$ variables, but I know many people don't. And here you can add the plugin. There's a $$ plugin for Phan, where you can make that sort of a company-wide policy. Don't do $$ stuff in our code base at this company. And at Etsy, we run Phan on, well, people can run it individually on their own machines, but we also run it as part of the test suite. So if you're going to push something to production, it has to pass all our Phan checks, including our plugin things. And it catches a ton of silly mistakes before it hits production, because unless you have 100% code coverage in your unit tests, which nobody does, and that's a waste of time trying to get to 100%, you're going to need a static analyzer like this to help catch things. All right, I am completely out of time. Thank you very much. And there are references here to everything I talked about.